My guest is Sanjay Raja, who's Senior Director of Product Marketing at RSA. Welcome, Sanjay.
Thanks, Richard. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, so exciting times for the security industry right now. What's your perspective? From RSA, what do you see out there? What are customers looking at? What are they doing?
We have a lot of customers that are really trying to understand how to get enough visibility and understanding of what's going on in the threat landscape, and they're trying to really understand how it can impact them and how they can try to solve some of the concerns around breaches, around advanced attacks. They're trying to understand how to handle things like moving to the cloud, especially around getting the visibility around potential threats.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really where most customers are talking. The other thing that we're seeing as well is a lot of customers are wondering how they're going to be able to build out more of an advanced security operations team. We have a split of customers that have security teams, not necessarily an advanced security operations center,
Right.
but they're looking to at least get closer to that or mature that significantly as well. So they are recognizing how critical security and understanding what's going on there is to their business.
Yeah.
So it's great to see that.
It's almost like the rest of us are inured to all the breach announcements, but as a breach announcement occurs in each little industry vertical, then that vertical starts paying attention to it.
Yeah, it starts a whole new cycle of people being concerned and looking at what do I need to do to solve my problems, or what vendor do I need to look at, or what sort of solution do I need that will help me against either understanding what happened or just being able to detect things in the future. So it's definitely interesting to see people evolve to that.
Yep.
We're also seeing a lot of customers are recognizing that a lot of the defensive technologies or perimeter-based technologies aren't working as well. They've been investing in those type of technologies for 15, 20 years now, potentially, and it's obviously they're understanding that vendors that say they're going to stop everything, it's really not realistic, and they're recognizing that they have to detect someone who may have breached their systems and really be able to find that quickly, understand how to respond to it, and really understand how to clean up when that occurs. So again, you can see the maturity level of a lot of the customers understanding how bad it is out there, and again, that's great to see that increase in that awareness going on.
Great. So line up RSA solutions and kind of compare them to these things that you're seeing out there.
Sure. So we've got 3 portfolios, and the portfolios are really work well together in terms of helping customers around that entire spectrum. Let me focus on our Advanced Security Operations Center portfolio first. It's kind of the nucleus of what we do at RSA around being able to really detect threats and respond to them. But the foundation of that is really around visibility. It's our security analytics platform, which is the core of that portfolio, really pulls in data sources from multiple areas, whether it's from logs, packets, endpoints, cloud data. And that's what really customers are looking for. They're really trying to understand what's going on end to end from a security threat perspective. We see a lot of vendors focused on logs or a particular area, and it doesn't really paint the full picture that people are looking for. So, we take that visibility and then, we try to normalize all the information that we've gathered, and we feed that into our analytics. And when I talk about analytics, we've introduced behavioral analytics recently. We just announced Security Analytics 10.6, which has incorporated real-time behavioral analytics into our platform. But we also will do things like understand lateral movement. We have a lot of data science models that will really do what correlation was meant to do. I think a lot of vendors have talked about correlating data, but it's not just combining it. It's being able to analyze data not just at a point in time or a single incident, but be able to combine huge volumes of data into understanding things over time. So whether it's weeks, days, months, whatever time frame it is, that's really what's going to enable an analyst to see what's occurred, how the breach occurred, understand some of these advanced threats. From that point, we're able to prioritize those events because, analysts will see thousands of events if they're left just looking at logs, for example. We really want to be able to bring those down to, we want to give them the full idea of the events that they have, but we want to be able to prioritize them for our customer base and be able to do a manageable number, whether I have one security analyst or a team of 20 or 30, they need to be able to do that. So that security analytics is the basis of our product line. But we also, part of pulling in endpoint data is we have an endpoint product called ECAT. And ECAT is really designed to understand the behaviors and understand how attackers will leverage processes, different files, basically run things in memory. You really understand that type of thing as opposed to just signatures like an antivirus would do. So it's not just about single patterns. It's really trying to understand if something unusual is going on a particular server, that gets, or any sort of endpoint, and that gets fed up to security analytics. Those are two independent products, but they do work together, and security analysts can pull all that in to really help paint a picture that maybe something started at an endpoint or was compromised at an endpoint, and a couple weeks later, now I can see that endpoint starting to move around and get into the network, and security analytics will identify that and tie those two together. So those are the two core products in terms of detection and response, but we also have security operations management called SecOps. That is really to help a analyst be able to automate more of the things that they need to do, whether it's a tier 1 or tier 3. It gives them the ability to prioritize events, understand, how do I manage an incident? What are the next steps I take? What's the workflow I need to do? Do I need to file a ticket with an IT system? Do I need to escalate it? And that actually will pull events from other sources other than security analytics and ECAT, and it really provides a nice console and multiple consoles, regardless of whether you're a CISO, an analyst, IT operations, and we provide all of that information so that, again, I can be more effective at managing my security operations. So that really is the core of the ASOC portfolio from a product standpoint. Then we offer advanced cyber defense services to help people build out their security operations. Again, vendor agnostic. It's not just with our products. We help them with whatever sort of security challenge that they have, or if they want to build a SOC. Or an incident response center, for example. We also have incident response services as part of that. So we'll tie all that together to really focus on helping our customers identify threats, be able to detect them quickly, and then be able to respond quickly. Earlier than that, we also have our VIA, our VIA portfolio, which is really designed around identity access, lifecycle, and governance. So it's really making sure we understand who's coming in, being able to make it very simple for them to do. So when you're talking about a particular identity getting access to applications, and be able to do their job, we want to make it very simple for that to occur. But at the same time, there's always that balance between making it simple and make the user experience easy, but also make it very secure. And so our portfolio is really designed to be able to do that. That ties very well with actually our threat portfolio. And the way that ties together is that we start to be able to pull in identity and user information, understand if we see something unusual going on, is it a compromised identity? And what we find is so many of the attacks that we see are based on a compromised identity. And so we need, we really want to be able to tie those things together and provide that information to our customers so they can take better action, quarantine a user or whatever that might be. And the last piece is our GRC portfolio, which is really designed to not only help customers with their business operations, their risk, their compliance initiatives. The way it ties really well with the identity and threat portfolios is that we bridge the gap between cybersecurity risk and business operations risk. So we're really able to even tie the things that security operations manager does around understanding and providing a good dashboard around security risk. We can tie that with asset criticality. Understand that the finance department with these servers, those are the most important ones, and how is the threat risk tied to the actual business asset and how companies operate. And now we can really paint even a better picture combining those two to show you want to be able to have prioritized action around these different areas, around these different events. You really want to address that finance server first as opposed to maybe your web server sitting inside, a public web server or a demilitarized zone. So that's where we can really bridge the gap between identity, threat, and risk and compliance. So that's really what RSA does well.
That's great. Where would a customer's maturity level be in their security journey before they would turn to RSA to help them out?
We actually have a very wide mix of customers. I mean, we have a lot of Fortune 500 customers, but we actually work with a lot of customers on two different areas. From a product standpoint, even though these products are well suited towards a SOC or security operations center, the value they provide in terms of being able to do network monitoring, provide visibility, understanding anything related to a threat, we have small, mid-sized companies that still use our products. Customers, regardless of the size they are, understand that endpoint security, the endpoint is a huge area for attackers to exploit. So we see a lot of companies that will start with our endpoint product and then start to build that into security analytics and start to deploy security analytics to be able to look at their entire network and pull in that endpoint data. So we've got a whole wide spectrum of maturity level. But the other side of the coin is our services, which are not your typical deployment services. They're really designed to help any maturity level just improve their security practice, whether you have a single security analyst or a single engineer, all the way to, we talked to a lot of CISOs, for example, that were just hired, and they're looking at how their security operations are right now, and they've got, 2 firewall people, maybe someone AV, they've got they have a third party that is actually pulling all their logs and doing analysis there, and they're trying to figure out, how do I build a better security team, better security operations to maybe make more use of that data coming from my provider, or even pull that back in-house as an example, and try to build out their security operations more effectively. So we can help from anywhere there to be able to provide them with the right understanding of the right people, the right processes, and the right technologies to be able to accomplish that, even if they're not using RSA technology, which obviously we would ideally like them to do.
Sure.
So.
Do you see a difference in take-up in different geographic regions?
Actually, the threat landscape and what people are seeing is not that different. I think people are generally concerned about the same thing. It's one of the few times where the geographical differences are not that high. We see that everyone still is concerned about, being able to identify threats and be able to do something about that. What we do see within, other geographies like Europe, for example, or EMEA, we will see that more customers are, our customer base is a little bit smaller in some cases. They're not quite as large as some large enterprises that we see in the US. So they're maybe not looking to build a gigantic SOC out, or really at that high level of separating, incident response, SOC operations, and all that within their environment. But they are still looking at being able to deploy our technologies to help them with their security problems that they're having. So again, a little bit different in terms of how they're set up, but in general, they have the same sort of issues. Yeah.
Lately, I've been hearing them talk about their certs as if they were transitioning to being SOCs for the country and their critical infrastructure. Are you picking up on any of that activity, either at that level, NATO, or militaries in various countries?
We are seeing a huge interest from the public sector in different countries, and especially the defense departments and security areas. The nation state threat actor is so predominant now, and we're seeing that in so many of our customers are concerned about, even enterprise customers, business customers are. Because we're seeing the trend that the nation-state attackers aren't even necessarily attacking a particular company for stealing their intellectual property or doing anything like that. They're trying to collect data. They're trying to collect data on individuals, on people. We've seen cases where, in certain countries, they're compromising healthcare systems to be able to find everything about a person's medical history and even their family medical history. Wow. For what purpose? I mean, how they can look to exploit it at some point, we don't really know right now, but we can see that that's related to another. We've actually identified where an incident with a particular organization, that data has been leveraged at another organization, and to be able to get other data or do more exploitation there. So it is very complicated in terms of how attackers are working and their motivations for doing things and why. So nation state is a big part of that. If they can, maybe try to compromise a government official or something like that and be able to get information about them, that's the type of data they're collecting. So again, it's much more than just trying to steal social security numbers or try to steal bank account information.
Right. Yeah, the attackers are going to have a big data problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I actually have heard that many of them are looking at creative ways to be able to handle that, which is interesting to see that community have the same problem
on AWS or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next for RSA security from here?
So we are continuing to move down the path of trying to make it easier and easier for our customers to be able to have anyone with any sort of security maturity be able to do the same things that a very, very high level analyst would be able to do. So our goal is to really, again, align identity with, threat detection and response with, am I running my business the way I want to? But a lot of that comes down to, am I able to make my solutions and provide the right level of information and the right layers of information where anyone can start to become a security analyst or security expert, or at least understand the actions they need to take to be able to accomplish their job. So, very much we're looking at things like, user behavior anomaly detection as an example. We want to be able to pull more insights around identity in users, and, people have been doing that for some time now in different formats, but we're really looking at augmenting that. We've got some capabilities there, but we're looking at improving that significantly as well. So that's one area that we're, looking at as a critical area. Again, I think it's a piece of the puzzle, but it's an important piece that I think people recognize that we need to understand who's doing things and if they're the right person and their identity and things like that. So that's definitely an area in addition to just making things much easier for security analysts to do their job day to day.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Sanjay.
Great. Nice talking to you again.